What's going on, everybody? It is the one and only Q from Retro Q Gamer, back at it again in effect as always. And yes, here we are with episode 3 of the soon to be, or someday to be explained, Quack experimental podcast. Now, we're going to do things just like we do. We're going to get going. There's no wholesome news to start off with today because, well, modern gaming is dark and full of terrors. I think I got it right that time. But anyway, let's go. There's some stuff, a decent amount of stuff we have to talk about. But, I'd say a lot of it is stuff that I didn't really deem video worthy during the week. There was one or two I was going to, but I just decided against it. But anyway, back beside the point. Let's start off with Fallout 76. You know, that train wreck that just keeps on giving. It's like the video game equivalent of Darkside Phil. But anyway, Fallout 76, what do we have? Well, the game has obviously had a massively disastrous, rocky, I can't even say launch at this point. It's just its lifespan in general is just an absolute shit show. But Fallout and Bethesda, they've kind of gone one step further. They've always kind of maintained that they're only going to do cosmetics for microtransactions and whatnot as well. And they're basically adding in pay to win stuff. Now, from what I understand, they're going to be adding in what's called repair kits. And repair kits can be bought with real world money. Or, well, you spend real world money to buy atoms because, let's face it, everyone needs to buy digital currency these days in whatever respective game. And you can use them, you use the atoms to buy the repair kits. Now, from what I understand, atoms can be earned in-game as well, but I'm sure there's a very slow accumulation rate on it. But anyway, when it comes to repair kits, they have actual, we'll call them progress items in them, essentially. Stuff that you need, that you usually have to go out of your way to get anyway. That's pretty much a requirement. These can contain them. And it basically cuts that part of it down and cuts that part of it out. Now, that's very worrying and very disappointing in some, well, I guess in pretty much all ways. Now, I don't play Fallout 76 myself. I don't give a shit about the game. I don't think anyone does. I mean, when it comes to Steam later this year, the 7 players that still play it are going to rejoice when their numbers hit double digits. So all 12 of you out there who are going to play it, ooh, you've got something to look forward to. But anyway, it really just flies in the face of everything that they've said. It kind of harkens to another worry and a fear I have. Completely different company, completely different game, completely different people involved. But Borderlands 3, I tie in the comparison there. Another one is, because Randy Pitchford, for example, said that there should be no loot boxes in Borderlands 3. Hopefully that stays the case. But look at Drive Club. No, not Drive Club. Look at the Sony game on the PS4, GT Sport, Gran Turismo Sport. They actually said that that one is not going to have microtransactions. Not going to have loot boxes, microtransactions, anything like that. Lo and behold, what do they add in later in a patch? Microtransactions. A lot of people, that flew under a lot of people's radar. So, I mean, these companies, they'll weasel it in and worm their way in somehow. But it is what it is. You know, company's going to company, business is going to business, and money going to money. Sigh. Next one up is actually a pretty big thing. I was going to make a video on this one, but I've done it several times before in the past. Not just on this particular side of it, but another one as well. Microsoft are increasing the price of Xbox Live subscriptions in the UK. Now, I've talked about this multiple times before when they've raised the price several different times before, just like Sony, in different regions. Sony would have done it in the UK or Europe, Sony would have done it in America, Microsoft would have done the same thing in their ones as well. And they've had price increases. But of course, my big issue with it is that they're not increasing the value, or they're not increasing what you're getting for it. That's the big thing to me. So, let me give you a quick example. Since it's going to be updated, the prices are going to be updated in the UK. A 1 month subscription is going from £6 to £7. The 3 month subscription is going from £15 to £18, and the yearly subscription is going from £40 to £50. So of course, if you have the year subscription, just like any other service or any other region, you do save a little bit of money. But this factors into the big question: what are you getting for all your extra money? Is it more games? Your games with gold stuff, better servers, better all that. Microsoft has generally had the best of the paid online services with Xbox Live for a pretty decent amount of time, but they're not making it any better with this. There's basically no reason to do this. I know personally myself, I've actually cancelled my Xbox Live Gold last year. And the only reason I would have cancelled it a year before, but my original Project Scorpio Xbox One X broke like 2 weeks after my... Oh no, it wasn't even 2 weeks, it was like 2 days after my yearly subscription renewed. If it had broke before it, I would have cancelled it and left it gone. But even though I got another Xbox One X a couple of weeks, if not a few months ago, I still haven't renewed it. I got a free month when I bought the Xbox, but I haven't renewed it. I mean, hell, I basically never played the thing. But you see my point. What are these people getting? Microsoft has said they're bringing up their prices to be in line with everyone else in the region and everyone else's pricing and stuff. So they're just doing it for that. They're not actually giving anyone any extra benefits or reason to it. It's not like you can buy one in a different country. As far as I'm aware, the codes for these are region locked because of currency issues. So as far as I know, you can't buy a UK one and just redeem it that way. Maybe it's different with the subscription services. I know you can't do it with the... What do they call them? I know you can't buy the store currency with it because you need an account in the country registered to the same currency, but I'm assuming it's the same way with that. I mean, most places, I think this is just a bit strange. I mean, you're getting screwed over. Your price increase is going up by about, well, it would be about €12, $12, give or take. And, well, for that's a year, of course. And you're not getting anything extra for it. I mean, Microsoft obviously they give you the 4 free. I say free, my arse. They're giving you those 4 games every month, which are games with gold, but they've been reduced to giving you 2 Xbox One games, usually, if you're lucky, one of which is a mid-tier game. Sometimes it's a high-tier AAA game of some sort. And instead of them giving you 2 360 games, now one of them is usually an OG Xbox game. Not really a great look. So, this price increase, a lot of people aren't going to be happy about it. Well, I should say a lot of people won't be happy about it, but who the fuck has an Xbox One in 2019 that still uses it? Clearly, everyone is playing on PS4. Not the Switch. But anyway, speaking of Switch, or rumors of Switch, or whatever you want to call it, we have Persona 5 info. Now, we all know that Persona 5 is having more info revealed at the end of this month. I believe it's the 25th of April at their live action concert thing. And we're going to find out more about Persona 5 The Royal, and we're going to find out whatever Persona 5S is. There's also rumors about Persona 5A, and we'll talk about all of them now. So, Persona 5 The Royal, we obviously don't know much about it just yet. They showed the teaser trailer with a new female character talking to Goro Akechi. With the dialogue in the trailer, it basically hinted, if you will, that the female character is probably an antagonist. She's probably in line with Goro Akechi or in cahoots with Goro Akechi, and she's probably not on the positive side. Now, from what it seems to be, there's been more info allegedly leaked or supposedly leaked about this anyway, and it seems like Persona 5 The Royal will be like what Persona 4 Golden is. It's basically going to be the full game with additional content. So it's not going to be just DLC for the end of it. Again, this is all rumored, so take it with a grain of salt. But it's rumored to be like an updated, fully extra version, if you will. So have all that stuff, new personas, new social links. There's also talk of a playable female protagonist in there as well. Not the girl from the trailer, which is an important thing to note, of course. And yeah, it's supposed to be PS4 exclusive. We'll see how it goes. There's supposedly going to be no actual proper release date on it just yet. The rumor goes as well that Atlas wanted a worldwide release, but it's just not really going to be viable, and it's not really going to be the case because of the sheer amount of content in it and what would have had to be translated and properly ported over and all as well. And so it seems to me that it seems like a fairly plausible reason. I mean, look at Persona 5. It came out in 2016, the end of 2016 in Japan. Didn't come out in the West until April of 2017. So it is plausible. I don't deny that at all. But I do think it will also be the Royal version. I do think will also be Persona 4 Golden style or Persona 3 FES style. I think it will be something like that. But also we have the Persona 5S and what's tipped to be Persona 5A. Now Persona 5S, of course, everyone thinks is just going to be a direct port of Persona 5 onto the Switch version. There's one or two, I won't even call them rumors, but there's one or two mentions of, a little bit of Switch exclusive content. I don't know, maybe it'll have fucking Mario or something in it, who knows. But anyway, I still get to laugh either way. If they do get it, haha, late port begging people that only get stuff as an afterthought. If they don't get it, haha, you don't get it. It's the way I look at it, basically. Now, we'll find out more about Persona 5S, if it's a Switch version or if it's something completely different. We'll find out later this month. But there's also the talk of Persona 5A. Now, Persona 5A, of course, will be what many people assume would be Persona 5 Arena. We've had two Persona 4 Arena games. There's Persona 4 Arena and Persona 4 Arena Ultimax. But this would be Persona 5 Arena, which makes perfect sense. Now, the two previous games, Persona 4 Arena and Arena Ultimax, they were both developed by Arc System Works, who make a bunch of the Guilty Gear games. They make a bunch of other fighting games too. But more recently and more high profile, they make Dragon Ball FighterZ. And of course, when you think of Dragon Ball FighterZ, that's a fairly high profile game. They're fairly pumping out content for that. So the game Persona 5A has probably been delayed or on hiatus a bit while they were busy focused on their big cash cow, their big moneymaker. Because ever since that game launched about a year ago, Dragon Ball FighterZ that is, it's been pretty high profile and it's been pretty prolific in the media and the news and its DLC and stuff as well. So probably once that kind of slows down a little bit, maybe we'll see some stuff for Persona 5 Arena. I'm not usually huge into many modern fighting games, but I'd probably buy it just because I love Persona 5 so much. To be honest, I'm planning on buying Persona 5 The Royal on PS4 anyway. And honestly, even if Persona 5 Regular does come to Switch, I'll buy it. I'll buy it. I'm part of the problem. I'll buy it. It's one of the few things I've fanboy with so much that I would buy it. And of course, if Sega ever does port them all to PC, I'll probably buy every single one of them. I'll probably buy Persona 1, both versions of Persona 2, Persona 3 FES, Persona 4 Golden, Persona 5 The Royal. I'll buy them all. I'll fucking buy them all. I don't care. Just fuck me up, fam. My Steam, where's my wallet? It's nowhere near me. I can't meme it. Anyway, we'll see how it goes. That's the end of this month, the end of April, 25th, I believe. That's where we probably find out more about it. So moving along, we have, this is something that popped up kind of out of nowhere, or at least if it did have any previous stuff, I've never seen it anywhere. But it's something called AntStream, A-N-T Stream. Now, what this purports to be is, think of it as a Netflix style service, but it's for retro games. So it can work on your tablet, on your smartphone, on your computer, on your Android TV box, whatever it is, possibly even directly to a smart TV. It's possible, we don't know yet, it's not 100% fully, but it's like a subscription-based service for streaming retro games. Now, I don't even know where to start with this. So, why is this a big deal and a big issue? They claim to have thousands of licensed games from different production studios, different developers, different publishers, whatever it is. These are all old school retro ROMs that are easily available anywhere. And when you get them anywhere, be it whatever form you choose to get them, they are simply played locally. And I don't know about you guys, I don't know if you know this as well, but modern smartphones are extremely powerful. Obviously, it doesn't take much to run something like a SNES game, like a NES game, like a Mega Drive game, or something like that. Modern smartphones can go one step further. Now, this service hasn't given 100% platforms yet. Obviously, we can assume stuff like arcade, maybe Commodore 64, maybe Atari, maybe NES, SNES, Mega Drive, Master System, something like that. Probably will cap out there. You're probably not going to look at stuff like a PS1, PS2, GameCube, N64, whatever it is. Modern smartphones can properly emulate stuff up to GameCube nowadays. That's right, you can get modern smartphones that can perfectly emulate GameCube games. And because modern smartphones have very high resolution screens, many of them are way above 1080p at this point, they can do it at those resolutions with still getting the frame rate, and it can still apply a little bit of anti-aliasing or anisotropic filtering, whatever it is you need to do, while keeping the frame rate and the resolution. Think about it. So why do you need a Netflix-style streaming service for your retro games? Again, this is all stuff that's easily available to anyone with 2 minutes. I won't even say 2 minutes of research. You don't even have to research it. You type it into Google, 2 minutes later, you have it. You're good to go. It's not even hard to set up. I could probably get someone in my family, someone out there watching this video who might not know anything about it. I could just tell you to just, I don't know, Google something like that. And 2 minutes from now, you would probably be good to go. But this is kind of capitalizing on the Netflix thing. Because a lot of people, for some reason, love subscription-style streaming services. I don't understand why. I mean, okay, to an extent, I can understand why. But I like ownership. I realize not everyone is like that. But people just want it available just like that. They just want it right there, right then. And streaming will allow that. However, the big difference with streaming games compared to streaming TV shows and films is with a TV show and film, there's no live action input required whatsoever. You can just press start, sit back, watch your film, watch your TV show, whatever it is, and you just sit there and enjoy. You don't have to do anything. With games, that's not the case. There's latency, there's lag, there's buffering, there's controller delay in input. This is a bit of a flawed system. It's a bit of a flawed system, especially if you're trying to play something fast like Sonic the Hedgehog with online latency and delay and stuff as well. And if a company as big as Google, with Google Stadia, if they're as big as that, and as much invested as tech and all they are, as Google, if they can't get it right, and every other company that's tried it has pretty much failed, well, I say no more. I need to say no more. I think it's strange. I think it's silly. I just don't get it. I just don't get it. I mean, people are just trying to capitalize on the modern love of retro games as well as streaming style services and just mixing the two of them together. I don't know. We'll see how it goes in the future. I have no interest in it really. At least as a product, I have no interest in the marketing it to me. But I don't know. Maybe it'll launch and maybe it'll get 1 million subs. I don't know. We'll see how it goes. So, moving on, we've got something that I talked about earlier on in the week as well. I made a dedicated video about it, but I'll talk about it again real quick here anyway, because it is important. It's the PlayStation Name Change. That's right, after many, many, many years of being behind Microsoft in this regard, and many years of fan outcry, the ability to change your PSN ID is now available on PlayStation 4. So you can log in on a PS4 or an internet browser on a computer or tablet or laptop or whatever, and you can change your PSN ID. Now, the first change is free. You can revert to your old one whenever you want for no cost. Anything beyond the very first change and subsequent reverts are paid services. They're €10, $10. I think it's £6.99, something like that. I never really keep up with the pounds version because it doesn't really apply. But you can do that, and it will cost you each time. Obviously, you can't change it to anything offensive or anything that breaks the TOS. They will force you to revert it that way as well. But anyway, that's just giving a quick brief outline of it. There's some big issues with it at the moment. There's a couple of small ones as well, but there's some big issues that I think are absolutely ludicrous that they even exist, that this service could actually launch with this as a potential problem that could exist. So, real quick, your previous online ID may remain visible to you and other players in some areas. This is in like certain loading screens or certain games that haven't been approved and tested in or developed way back in the day. Way back in the day. I'm talking like what, 2017, 2016, maybe even 2013. Whoa. But yeah, that's not a huge deal unless you're being stalked online or something like that. You may lose progress within games, including game save data, leaderboard data, and progress towards trophies. Again, this is something that I think is stupid. I can kind of understand why it happens because someone explained this in the video actually about this. I'm not huge into databases and all this stuff. I don't know the ins and outs and intricacies of the whole thing, but someone on one of my videos actually described the entire situation in detail. I highly recommend you go back a few days, check out that comment. I have it pinned to the top because it's just such an informative comment and it breaks everything down and it explains it to people like me and people like probably you out there as well. But essentially, what it breaks down is that Sony developed, the reason why this took so long and why there's so many problems with it, is the way Sony developed the account system and the PSN. they set it up incorrectly, basically. They put the PlayStation user ID as, let's say, the primary function instead of something else that it should be. So there's a big problem with that because there's so many limitations, including stuff like we're seeing here: leaderboard progress, game save data, and what we're going to get now onto in a second. So some of the other ones, parts of your game and applications may not function properly both online and offline. Again, this is something that will be maybe a mode or a patch or an update or a DLC or whatever is tied to a specific, it's tied to the old account and the old account name, and it's looking for the old account name, but you have a new account name and it's still looking for the old account name. It doesn't see a generic account regardless of the name. It's pointing specifically to the old name, not the new name, and not the general account. Again, it's part of the way that Sony set it up, and very incorrectly. But this next one is the big one that I have absolutely no idea how this exists in. How does this system launch without a complete overhaul of the PSN to prevent this? So you may lose access to content, including paid for content that you may have acquired for your games, including content like add-ons and virtual currency. So this means that any potential digital license on your account, be it virtual currency, like if you're playing Fortnite or whatever, and you have your, what are they, Fortnite books or something, those ones, if you have them on your account, if you have DLC for games on your account, like, I don't know, what's a game that has DLC? I haven't played a game with DLC in so long. Shit. I'm drawing a blank. What's a modern game? Battlefield. Doesn't Battlefield have a season pass? So let's say you buy the season pass for Battlefield or season pass for whatever. You could lose access to everything in that because the same way it could be tied to the old one. It doesn't stop there though. You could also lose game licenses. Any game you download digitally and have digitally on your PS4, you could lose that license. Now, I will say this in their defense, slight defense if you will, it's arguably non-defense at all. But if you have any of these issues, including losing access to licenses and stuff like that, when you revert your gamer tag or your PSN ID back, this fixes the problem. So because it will still be looking for the old name, and it will be able to do that instead of the old account or the general account or anything. But the fact that you can potentially lose all your hard-earned money and your purchases and everything, that's madness. I mean, I think I've got like 5 or 6 digital games on my PS4. I'm going to try list them off real quick. I've got the 3 GTA games. They were absolutely... GTA 3, that is. The 3 GTA 3 games. There you go. So many syllables that are all semi-sounding the same. I have Resident Evil Code Veronica on PS2. They're all the PS2 classics. And I have Persona 4 Dancing, but although that came free with some of my other purchases. So I won't include that, and actually... And Borderlands: The Handsome Collection. There you go, 5 games. Borderlands: The Handsome Collection. So that's not a lot of content. That's not a lot of paid DLC, or it's not a lot of paid downloadable content. I just say content in general, not specifically DLC. But I mean, that's probably... I bought Borderlands on sale for like 20 quid. It's maybe 50 euros worth of content. But a lot of people out there have digital only. A lot of people have huge amounts of PS4 games. A lot of people have huge PS4 libraries, and they're all digital, or majority digital. And to possibly lose all of that, how does this fucking system exist? It just blows my mind how someone could push this out. I know it's because Sony designed the PSN and the account system and the ID system from the ground up very poorly, but it clearly needs a proper overhaul. You think they would have done it sometime in, like, when was it? 2008, maybe like 2009, 2010, whatever. Remember when the PSN was hacked and it was taken out for like a month? You think they would have done something about it back then, but apparently not. So we'll see how this goes forward anyway, but it boggles my mind that it can happen. But anyway, moving away from the PS4 account system for a minute, we'll look at something on the Switch, and that is Wolfenstein Youngblood. Now, Wolfenstein Youngblood has been tipped. I've talked about this before, but Wolfenstein was originally tipped to launch a physical edition, which had a box. It had a box copy. It was going to be sold in stores, but had no game card in it. It was only going to come with a physical code, I should say. It's going to come with a piece of paper with a code on it, and that code will obviously allow you to download the game. It's not one of the ones that's on a small card, and it requires like an 8 gig patch or something just to play the rest of the game. No, this is full 100%. it was tipped to do this at first because retailers were listing it, but Bethesda hasn't said anything. Bethesda have actually came out and confirmed that the physical version of Wolfenstein Youngblood on Switch will not contain physical media. It will only contain a download code in every known region. Now, they say every known region. They were talking about I believe it was Japan, Europe, and America, or the Americas. But they might, who knows? There might be what's that? What do they call it? The other Asian region, Southeast Asia, that other Asian region that they released stuff in that sometimes has physical editions of games that usually wouldn't have a physical one, or they have the entire game on the card instead of like partial downloads like the rest of the world have. I don't know what to say about this other than what I said already, because many people would blame Bethesda and whatnot. Is not true whatsoever. The only singular blame with this and any problem relating to this, be it Wolfenstein or any other game, is completely down to Nintendo. Nintendo 100% is at fault, 100% to blame. They created a system that forces people and developers and publishers to use this physical media. I'm not saying make a Switch with a Blu-ray drive in it. No, design a system that runs differently. Design a system that uses something differently. No, you designed a system that used these unique proprietary micro SD cards, proprietary physical media cards that are produced in such low quantities and such, I suppose, low capacities as well, because let's face it, 32 gig is tiny these days. But not that Switch gets anything with modern games on it anyway, so you can look at it both ways. But you designed this problem. You created this problem with your engineering and your design system. You have to, like, I won't say reap the benefits for it, but you've made your bed, now lay in it. That's what we can say. There's a reason why a lot of big games actually in Europe weren't published by their actual publishers. They were published by Nintendo because companies weren't willing to pay the publishing fees and the physical media fees to release a game in Europe. So Nintendo would pick up the slack. If you look at Skyrim, if you look at Dark Souls Remastered, if you look at Doom, there's another high profile one that's escaping me right now. I can't remember what it is, but it was a fairly high profile one. They were all published in Europe by Nintendo because other companies, the publishers and developers, just said, fuck it, we don't want it. There's no point. We're not doing this at this point. But Nintendo stepped in. Obviously, Nintendo producing the cards themselves, they don't need to take a cut because they're not selling the cards, so they can get them cheaper, essentially, if that makes sense. But it's 100% Nintendo's problem. Anyone who says otherwise is absolutely wrong. Think about what you're saying. Who created the base level of problem and it extrapolated from there and onto each publisher and developer? It's Nintendo, 100%. But away from Nintendo, because we're going to look at a series that basically has nothing to do with Nintendo, and something with the series in its potential future will obviously have nothing to do with Nintendo, is Splinter Cell. Now, I talk about this with bated breath, if you will. Would that be the right word? I know bated breath is usually it's usually a term used to describe, waiting kind of thing. But I'll explain why anyway. But Ubisoft has talked about Splinter Cell and the future of the Splinter Cell series. Now, we all know there hasn't been a Splinter Cell game in a while, ever since Splinter Cell Blacklist, which came out in, 2012, maybe 2013, maybe 2014. It was a 360 era game, 360, PS3, and PC. So that just gives you an idea about how old it was. I still remember the general era when it came out. I remember what I was doing and talking to people and all at the time. So it was probably like 2012, maybe 2013. Could have been even earlier. But there hasn't been a game since. But there has been one or two nods to games since then, at least in Splinter Cell. There was the Ghost Recon Wildlands. They had a special anniversary event or a special throwback event and all that had Sam Fisher in it. So, I mean, there was a little bit there too. Now, they've said that, the Assassin's Creed team, the Watch Dogs team, the Tom Clancy's team, they're all very busy and they're doing their own thing as well. But they haven't ruled it out. They want to find time. They want to find a proper time to develop it, to launch it, to release it. They want to make it properly, or so they claim, but it's Ubisoft, so it's not really the case. But essentially, they've confirmed that the series isn't 100% dead. Now, Do we trust them? It's Ubisoft? Absolutely not. I don't trust them whatsoever. I won't be buying it. I love Splinter Cell. I love the majority of Splinter Cell. This is a series. I love the first 4 games. The original game, Pandora Tomorrow, Chaos Theory, and Splinter Cell Conviction. No, not Conviction. That was shit. Double Agent. Conviction is where the series died to me. I didn't like it at all. It changed completely, and I was completely turned off by it. I have no interest in Blacklist, even though I think someone gifted me a copy fucking years ago on Steam. Can't remember if I actually accepted it or not. But the future of Splinter Cell, regardless of even if they do launch a new one and it looks good, it looks old school and whatnot, even if it has Mike Ironside, I can't do it. Mike Ironside, my boy, but I can't do it. I just can't do it. We'll see anyway. We'll see how it goes. But moving on, we'll look at some crossplay shenanigans, or I guess you could call it crossplay to an extent. So we're looking at PS4 and my most beloved, favorite game, the one that I've given Game of the Year to multiple different times at this point, Destiny, or specifically Destiny 2. Maybe Destiny 1, but we're assuming it's Destiny 2 in this one anyway, because it's so weird. So Bungie had originally wanted to do 2 different things when it came to Destiny 2. Well, 3 different things if you wanted to make a good game, if you include that. But Destiny 2, they wanted to have crossplay between at least PS4 and PC. At the time, crossplay and all between consoles was still fairly ambiguous and basically didn't exist. But, well, for the most part at least anyway. But they also wanted to do crossplay between PS4 and PC. And they had also wanted to do account sharing, essentially. No, cross-platform account sharing, if you will. So that you could log into Destiny 2 on your PS4, play, do whatever, log in on your Battle.net account, and have it tied to your PS4 account, continue on there. But Sony basically cockblocked it. And said no. But allegedly, the quote from Sony, and this is kind of funny if it's true, but Sony said in regards to this, we want people to associate Destiny with PlayStation, even if it means screwing over other players. That's pretty fucked up if you ask me. Now, in modern era, I can understand why it comes across a little bit worse, because now crossplay is ever so slightly inching out and ever so slightly getting bigger and bigger. More and more games are supporting it. But at the same time, we have Sony stonewalling a lot of developers and straight out lying about it, saying, oh yeah, crossplay is available to any developer, they just have to ask. And we have developers coming out and saying, no, we specifically asked you like every single day and you told us no. And I think all of that is especially funny because just recently, the PS4 has exclusive Destiny content. In fact, it actually had it on the PS3 and 4 because of Destiny 1. But Destiny 2 has PlayStation exclusive content. I think it's a gun. There's like a gun, an armor set, a map or something like that. But there's definitely at least a gun. That gun, through a glitch, was made available to Xbox One users and PC users. Now, they couldn't equip it, but they could acquire it. That previously wasn't the case. However, that was quickly patched out, of course. If you did manage to get the gun on PS4, or if you did manage to get the PS4 exclusive gun on Xbox One or PC, you can't equip it, but you're allowed to keep it. So when the timed exclusivity deal runs up, you can use it straight away. I just think it's exceptionally funny for 2 reasons. One, if Sony is stonewalling the crossplay and account sharing across multiple platforms, if they're specifically behind that being blocked, that's funny because it's pretty much ironic. And 2, oh, it's just well, actually, I suppose I just covered it in the first one. It's just how ironic it was. That's pretty much it. But anyway, we'll leave it at that for them. Next up, speaking of online shenanigans and online chicanery like Destiny 2, there's a rumor and a report floating around the internet at the moment about a certain game from a company that published a lot of games in the past. They developed a lot of games in the past. They made great games in the past. But over the last 4 or 5 years, they've kind of been shit in the bed. That company, of course, is BioWare. Now, BioWare has had a fairly few significant high-profile flops at this point. We all know about Mass Effect 3. We all know about Dragon Age 2. We all know about Star Wars Titanic because it's sunk like the fucking Titanic. or the Titanic. We know about Mass Effect Andromeda. We know about Anthem. And probably we know about, possibly, Dragon Age 4. Now, the big problem is that a lot of like leaked stuff and all, and reports about what the game was going to be like, it was going to be about, how they were going to do all this stuff, a lot of that has come out. Now, its validity is always up for question, like anything on the internet. But if it's true, everyone is so worried about it, because it paints Dragon Age 4 as a Destiny / Anthem style games as a live service. No one wants that. People want Dragon Age like they want Witcher, like they want Cyberpunk 2077, like they want Final Fantasy, like they want Persona, like that kind of stuff. People want these games as huge single-player experiences, narrative-based experiences with quality content, quality gameplay, quality everything. They don't want online live as a service games in that style. Imagine if you had to play Mass Effect and you saw other people just randomly running around, fucking around, doing all this stuff. And sometimes you couldn't even play it because the game was laggy, your internet was down, the servers were down, there was maintenance, or some other random fuck up. People don't want that. And of course, because it's EA, I'm sure the game would be designed around microtransactions or designed to scheme you in some way, shape, or form. No one wants that shit. No one wants that shit. I can't speak to the quality of Dragon Age Inquisition. It seemed to be not bad, but the fact that it wasn't super high-end praised, and the fact that it wasn't panned and lambasted for being shit, it makes me think it was just average and mediocre, that it just kind of skated by on release. So, I mean, I don't know if that was any indication about what could happen next. Who knows? Who knows? But speaking of new games or upcoming, yeah, we'll go with upcoming games. Yakuza Kiwami 2. Now, I actually talked about this last week because there was an online rating board listing for Yakuza Kiwami 2 to be releasing on PC, potentially. And of course, a few days later, Sega announced Yakuza Kiwami 2 for PC. It's coming out next month in May. It's gone up for pre-order. I already have my copy pre-ordered. That'll come into something I'll import a bit later on in the video. But yeah, Yakuza Kiwami 2, it's going to be good. One thing that's especially going to be interesting about Yakuza Kiwami 2 on PC is it runs on the new engine. I think it's called the Dragon engine, but it runs on the new engine that I think it's Yakuza 6, the final game in the series. I think it's 6. It might be 7. Is there a 7? Someone correct me. But Yakuza 6 and Kiwami 2 use the new engine. And this is apparently a very high visual fidelity, visually appealing engine. So it's supposed to be really good. And of course, we all know that last year it was basically leaked from Sega themselves directly that Yakuza 6, or the final Yakuza game, I never remember if it's 6 or 5 or 7 or whatever, but it's going to be coming to PC at some point in 2019. So we know that. It runs on the same engine. If the Kiwami 2 port is great and it runs really well with that engine, and it's got lots of quality PC-centric features, Yakuza 6 is going to happen. At that point, we'll have Yakuza 0, Yakuza Kiwami 1, 2, we'll have 6 eventually. They're already remastering 3, 4, and 5 for PS4. It wouldn't surprise me, because of the architecture and whatnot, if we just saw them ported over and released on PC as well. I know I'd be looking forward to it. I've already bought Yakuza 0, Yakuza Kiwami 1, and Yakuza Kiwami 2, so that's important. That's important. And hell, Sega, you've been killing it the last few years on PC. You've even helped bring Atlas to PC on Steam. Catherine Classic did really well. I can't wait for you to bring Persona over. But, oh my god, this next one. I don't even know how to start this one because it's just so strange. So we all know GameStop is kind of weird and trying to screw people over as much as possible. And they have all sorts of shady practices and all too. And we all know that in modern gaming and modern era gaming and whatnot, the season pass and the games as a service and all this stuff is fairly ubiquitous with how places want to screw you over and give you as little as possible, but get more money from you. Well, now GameStop is basically going above and beyond to do that again. They're launching something that's called a GameStop Premium Pass. Woo lad. Now the GameStop Premium Pass is so weird. It's so weird. It's basically a pass that you pay €60 for, and you gain access to let's call them 10 tickets, 10 tokens, if you will. Each one of those tokens can allow you to get a pre-owned game of certain value, basically about €25 or more, for €10. As long as there's some caveats and all with it too. As long as there's a certain value, as long as you trade in a game of a certain value at the same time, no matter what it is, you can get that for €10. Now, as complex and convoluted as that sounds, first off, you only have 10 chances to do it after you pay the initial €60. But anyway, someone compiled a very basic form of this list, and I'll read that off here. Gives you a good example of it. Now, at the same time, I will say that so far this has only been confirmed for some GameStop European countries. Does not apply here in Ireland. The site and the source and all of this at the time, it was only live in GameStop Italy. Not sure if it's going to spread out to the rest of Europe, to Ireland, to the rest of the world, whatever it is. We'll see how it goes. But let me give you the abridged Cliff Note versions of the GameStop Premium Pass and how it works. So it's got a €60 price. Here's how it works. You purchase the Premium Pass, and in the same transaction, you use the credit, which is like one of, the credit of buying the Premium Pass, to purchase a used game worth at least $24.98. It's a very strange number. I know here in Europe, the GameStop still sells stuff at like $24.99, $29.99, stuff like that, which is very strange because here in Ireland, at least anyway, the 1 and 2 cent coins are no longer proper physical tender. So they completely disregarded and removed 1 and 2 cent coins. So you should be selling stuff for like $24.95 or just 25 even. Places can still use them and they're still technically accepted like that, but there's no more of them. They're kind of like unofficial coins, if you will, unofficial currency. Banks still take them though, and that's the kind of strange thing. Anyway, that's tangent. I'm off topic here. So, part 2. Then you bring a game into the store with a minimum retail price of at least $24.98 for the used version, and use one of the 10 tickets to buy a used game for only €10. So basically, you could pick up a pre-owned game worth €60. Then you bring in a game to trade in, as long as your game has an extra sale value. I believe the way this is worded, it's not a trade-in value. Like if you're going in with a copy of Fallout 4, maybe you'll only get €10 if you trade that in. But maybe they're selling it for €25. So because it has a used sale value of €25, it seems that it would apply in this case. And because you're trading that in, despite it would only knock off 10, maybe €25 off the price of the game, it will use one of your tickets to drop it down to buy in it for €10 for you. And that's basically it. You can rinse and repeat 9 more times, and that's it. Now, I don't think this is a great value because you're paying the initial $60, and at the same time, you're also giving GameStop a decently valued game, which is where they're making their money back off it. Because I don't know if you guys notice, you probably already do, but GameStop's money is primarily made on 2 things: loot and pre-owned games. The average margin on a brand new game for GameStop is less than 10%. On average, depending on the game, it's less than 5%. So it's pretty small. Like brand new games, day one, sold at maybe €75. You'd be lucky to make €6 on them. You'd probably make about €4 or so, give or take. Varies on game per game how many GameStop buy in and whatnot as well. But even in very high profile popular games where they're going to buy tens of thousands, if not maybe hundreds of thousands of copies of the game at a time, you're still only making single digit profit per game. It's still profit, don't get me wrong, but you'd need to sell a lot of them. And by comparison, you trade in a game, maybe you trade it in, you get €10 for it. They go on and sell it for maybe €25, €30. So their profit margin on those is huge. It's the same with loot as well, because loot you buy in for maybe €5. You buy, let's say, a pop vinyl or something. I don't know, I can't remember the exact, I used to know because I used to see it, but I remember you'd buy in pop vinyls and you'd sell them on, and you'd sell them for triple the price you paid for them. So there was a fairly significant profit margin there. Even if like I was going to call it a pop socket, even if a pop vinyl is only maybe €15, you buy it in for €5, you sell it for 15, you've made €10 profit. You've made twice extra what you paid for it. So overall it all adds up. And that's the important thing to note here. Because you're giving them so many games. You're giving them 10 games as well as €60, which, when you think about it, could originally offset the trade-in value. Like, you're going to trade in a game and you're going to get money off a game. That €60 could have paid for some of the difference of some of those games. Especially if you weren't going to buy 10 games in the long run. You're going to feel like you need to, just to make your money's worth, just to use these. So that's how they get you again. They basically force you to do this, by signing up to this, at least anyway. I think it's absolute madness. It's crazy to see what GameStop will actually try in modern era to stay relevant. GameStop are failing all around the world. They're just trying so much to try to keep up that margin. They're giving you high margin products, high margin like services, or stuff that's complete margin services. I know, for example, when I used to work in GameStop, we had they still do. They have the game protection program. It's basically like insurance for your games, where it's not just even if it gets stopped working or whatever. It's even if it's physically damaged, broken, scratched, whatever like that. Hell, you could buy a game with the protection, open it up, and just break the disc in half in front of someone working in GameStop. They would have to give you a new one, or they'd have to replace the copy, even if it's with a used one. But that system, with how much it cost to replace the average game, and how often, or how more so infrequently, games were actually claimed back on it. That system was 98% profit when I worked there. Imagine that, 98% profit. Because many people they'll spend €2, €3, €5 on game protection, whatever it is. I'd say by running by the numbers, 2% of those people came back. 2%. And sure, maybe it's only €1, maybe it's only €2, €3, €5. A lot of them don't come back, and that's just pure profit. So they're offering you these services where they have to do little to nothing, or they're banking on having to do little to nothing, and that's it. It's madness. It's madness. I don't know how it's going to go. GameStop are weird in modern era. It's going to be very interesting in the next maybe 4 or 5 years, if they even last 4 or 5 years. Because I know everyone always says that, the end of GameStop is nigh and all this stuff. It really looks like it might be the case in the next few years. GameStop were in some fairly dire straits this year. The investor call and the investor meeting lost $700 million company-wide, a net loss of $700 million. They tried to have someone buy them out with cash injection to save the company basically and take over because, the people in charge weren't happy about it. No one bought it, no takers, because everyone else looks at it and they say this is not a viable business. This is not something I want to risk because, it's being killed by stuff like Amazon and digital distribution. So, I mean, I know I buy almost everything from Amazon at this point, game-wise and all. The only exceptions are when something isn't available on Amazon, if it's maybe a GameStop exclusive, or if Amazon won't ship it to Ireland. Case in point, the Mega Drive Mini, Amazon have it up in the UK, it currently does not ship to Ireland. Catherine Full Body on PS4 with the limited edition does not ship to Ireland. I have to pre-order both of them in GameStop, so not happy about it, but I'd rather get them that way than not have them. So we'll see how it goes anyway, if they even survive the next few years, if they even. Now, what do we have next anyway? We had... Oh yes, let's put the Switch fanboys on suicide watch again. Because even though last week I talked about Project Octopod, I think I talked about it anyway, Project Octopath Traveler was rumored to have its release date, it's not so much its release date, its exclusivity lost on PS4, on Nintendo Switch. Because a Korean ratings board put out a PC rating. And since then, an official post from Square Enix on a Square Enix blog, which of course was promptly deleted, but, it's the internet and nothing is really gone forever. Some people managed to get a capture, some screenshots and all of it too. And it turns out that the official blog posting on Square Enix website was saying that Octopath Traveler is coming to PC on June 7th. Now, you take that as you will. I'll get some salt going on for those Switch fanboys. I'll get a nice F key, as you heard right there, for the Switch fanboys. because they're going to be very butthurt and upset about it. Now, personally, I don't care about this whatsoever. I played the demo of Octopod Traveler, did not like it whatsoever. It sold completely on nostalgia based on the graphical style and the combat style, but the quality of the gameplay, the quality of the mechanics, the quality of the experience was just so subpar to me. I just don't get it at all. Who knows? Maybe because it's a Steam, its game is obviously coming to Steam. Maybe a year from now I'll buy it for €4 on Steam, and then maybe 6 years later I'll finally play it. Or maybe I won't, because, well, I'm a PC gamer. I have choices. I have options. Glorious PC gaming master race. But anyway, moving along. We're almost done, guys. Don't worry. Oh, let's go to a non-gaming topic, actually, for a second. Star Wars Episode 9. Now, we all knew there was going to be an Episode 9 on there, too, because, well, it was already previously announced. But they finally revealed the name of Episode 9. Now, no one knew what it was. Everyone had all these crazy theories and stuff. But it's official. Star Wars Episode 9 is going to be The Rise of Skywalker. Now, from what we know about it so far, there's been a little bit of information all about it too. It looks to be retconning the last two films, the last two main entries. I'm not talking about Rogue One and Solo, but it looks to be completely retconning Episode 7 and Episode 8, which is so funny because Disney and the wrong side of the fan base for Star Wars, the fake fans, the outrage fans, the social justice warrior fans, they have they've kind of fucked it up. They've always been clinging to, oh, Star Wars Episode 7 and 8 are so progressive, they're so amazing, this, that, and the other. And even Disney, when Star Wars Episode 7 was coming out, were saying the past is dead, forget the previous 6, we're going with a new whole thing. And then, of course, The Last Jedi flopped, and Solo flopped, and Rogue One basically flopped, and everyone's kind of hating on the new one and worried about it. Now they're basically saying, oh yeah, remember those last two? They don't count. So remember these guys that we're bringing back and all these characters that are coming back from the first one? Or the original 2 trilogies, if you will? Yeah, they're back. They're back. Don't worry, social justice is gone, equality is gone, all this representation is gone. We're bringing back stuff. I just think that's exceptionally funny that they're doing that. And of course, if you hadn't heard, it's been announced that after Episode 9, the 20-year plan is no longer in effect. Star Wars is officially going on hiatus after Episode 9. If you're not familiar with what the 20-year plan was, starting with The Force Awakens, which was Episode 7 a few years ago. I think it was in 2015, was it? But anyway, Star Wars, they had a 20-year plan where they were going to do one film every year for 20 years. They were going to have a mainline film, a spin-off, mainline film, spin-off, mainline film, spin-off. It was confirmed that they were going to do up to, I think it was Episode 12, maybe Episode 15, as well as a couple of, obviously a spin-off in between it. They were going to do one film every year for 20 years. Obviously, with the massive decline in quality, a massive decline in revenue and return, no, they're just not doing it anymore. It's officially going on hiatus. And that kind of makes me happy to an extent. I mean, people are going to be outraged. Like, oh, Q, you're happy that they're, they're hating on this and they're happy on that Star Wars is failing and all. No, I'm just happy that Star Wars is realizing it's becoming self-aware, and it's getting to the point where Star Wars might be going back to the quality we know and love. Star Wars was a legendary franchise. The first trilogy is something I hold dear to my heart, and granted I don't like the prequel trilogy, but at the same time, you can look at it and you can say Star Wars was something that released so infrequently. When one did release, it was worldwide news. It wasn't worldwide news because it was, there was some sort of crazy SJW agenda or something else on there too, or representation or outrage or fan backlash or whatever. No, it was a big deal because of what it was. And then it's just degraded so much over the last couple of years since Episode 7. And because it's going on hiatus, maybe they can finally redo their focus. Maybe release one film every 5, 6 years, 10 years, whatever it is they need to do. As long as they can bring Star Wars and quality back up to what everyone loved Star Wars for. The quality, the storytelling, hell, even to an extent, the visuals and special effects. We'll see how it goes. That's years down the line. That's later, much later endgame right there. But anyway, we'll move on to real quick our two last little topics here as well. We have, staying with Star Wars actually, we have Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order. Now, this is published by EA. It's going to be developed by Respawn. It's out later this year. Respawn made Titanfall and Apex Legends. So that's going to be interesting. A lot of people have said that they're getting like Titanfall wall running vibes and Titanfall controls and all that too from it, and see how it goes. The big thing is they've said that it's going to be a big single player story experience with no microtransactions or loot boxes or cosmetics or anything in it too, which is very, very unlike EA. I think they're finally caving to some of the pressure that people have finally been standing up for after these last couple of years. But interestingly enough, even though the game doesn't appeal to me whatsoever, interestingly enough, despite being an EA game, technically it's an EA game because they do own Respawn now, it's developed with the Unreal Engine. Now, I have no doubt that it's not going to be coming to the Unreal Store on PC, that it is going to be Origin exclusive, but it's developed with the Unreal Engine. The last couple of years, ever since around Battlefield 3, EA have kind of pushed the Frostbite engine onto absolutely everyone. They've pushed it onto RPGs, they've pushed it onto first-person shooters, they've pushed it onto football games, they've pushed it onto sports games. Why not this? Why is Unreal Engine doing this? I don't know. I don't get it. We'll see how it goes. I have no interest in it personally myself. But anyway, that's beside the point. Last up, last proper topic for the video, is that the Xbox One S all-digital unit has probably been leaked. Well, it's been probably leaked for a long time now, but it's probably been leaked, and at the same time, the price has probably been released along with a release date as well. Now, first off, we'll get it out of the way. It's a 1 terabyte, if all this is true, it's a 1 terabyte console, 1 terabyte bundle, comes with no games or anything like that as well, and it is a discless system. So there's no disk drive whatsoever. It cannot use physical media like that. It can only download and play digital copies of games from Xbox Live. Which, okay, I can understand. They're removing some of the extra features with how high profile digital distribution and all is nowadays. I can kind of understand where they're coming from and why they're doing that. Because, well, let's face it, if Xbox disc sales are down so far, but Xbox Live and digital sales are up so much, why not cut out the middleman? Offer someone a system or whatever to get around what they don't need. Don't pay for what you don't need, basically. However, €220 on May 7. Now, €220 is a decent price. It's a little bit cheaper than a regular 1 terabyte Xbox One. But here's the big thing. Who the fuck buys a regular Xbox One in 2019? The console is dead. The console is absolutely dead. Now, you could argue that with the 360, how long did it remain a Netflix machine for so many people? There were tons of people where the Xbox 360, towards the end of the lifespan, and even beyond, even into the Xbox One era, that the 360 just from the only reason it was still there was an easy access Netflix machine. Nowadays, Netflix is on everything. It's even built into apps on smart TVs. So how is that going to kind of progress onto this? I don't think a lot of people are going to be buying this for Xbox One, just for Netflix or whatever. And who, like I said, with the exception of people replacing a broken Xbox or something like that, I mean, the sales numbers have said that Xbox One is not selling. Most of the people, the majority of the people in current year that are buying Xbox Ones are probably upgrading from an Xbox One to an Xbox One X. So I don't know how this is going to go over. I just think this is very strange. I don't know. I think it's probably a bad idea. It would have been a decent idea if they came out from the jump. Now, if we go on to the next gen, and maybe they have 3 different SKUs, maybe they have a proper console hardware variant, maybe they have a streaming variant, or maybe they just have the digital only variant, which could also be the streaming variant at the same time. But we'll see how it goes anyway. It's probably going to be announced sometime soon, maybe at E3. Probably not at E3 if it's going to launch at May 7th, actually, but we'll see how it goes. Anyway, that's the end of this little part of it. I'm just going to round out with my usual little bit on what I'm doing and what I'm playing and all that too. So lately, as you've known for the last couple of videos on this, I've been watching a lot of Batman the Animated Series on Blu-ray, and there's so many episodes, I'm getting through them all as well. Funny enough, earlier today when I was watching a couple of episodes, I actually thought, I was like, man, I could never get sick of this. And funny enough, just as I said that, it dawned on me, at one point I did get sick of it. Because years ago, in 2008, I broke my knee in a motorbike accident. I was bedridden for a while, and, well, 2008 was a very big different time, technologically wise. So I just kind of had to sit there and watch Cartoon Network the entire time. However, it was about less than a week before The Dark Knight came out. The Dark Knight. It was about less than a week before The Dark Knight came out. And Cartoon Network showed nothing except Batman the Animated Series exclusively. So watching that 24 hours a day, it became a bit much. But anyway, it's still great, still love it, it's still amazing, but obviously that little one period back then was a little bit questionable. Now, other than that, I was playing Final Fantasy VI, as I'm sure you still remember from last time, and I have finished Final Fantasy VI. Now, I finished it before in the past, but it's been a long, long time. Final Fantasy VI is actually tied for one of my top Final Fantasy games of all time, and one of my top games of all time. So it was good to do it again. It's been way too long. It's literally been about maybe 12, 15 years since I finished Final Fantasy VI last. And honestly, I forgot so much about it. And that kind of disheartens me, because I knew it was still one of my favorites. There was still part of it there that I loved so much. But just because it'd been so long, I thought I'd remember more. But it turns out I forgot a lot more than I actually remembered, which was a bit of a yikes for me. I don't want to leave big games like that with big, like, 15-year gaps or so anymore. Other than that, because that's done, I have to move on to another proper game to play. Now, I do think my next big proper game to play, I do want to do Earthbound, but I'm not going to do Earthbound yet. I don't want to move from one big Super Nintendo 16-bit RPG to another big Super Nintendo 16-bit RPG. Now, what I'm probably going to do is I'm probably going to play Yakuza 0 at a long last. That's right. Probably going to play Yakuza 0. Because I still have to I have to play Yakuza 0, then I have to play Yakuza Kiwami, and then Yakuza Kiwami 2. There's a couple of other things I do want to do in the meantime as well, although these are less pressing. I do want to play the Phoenix Wright trilogy. I have that on Steam now, even if I had the games on DS, it's more incentive for me to actually play them, and they look gorgeous in high resolution. But that's more incentive for me to do that. I also want to stream some old school GBA games. Maybe I'm kind of leaning somewhere between maybe a Fire Emblem game, maybe a couple of Fire Emblem games, as well as, oh, what was the other one? Advance Wars games. I'm thinking of streaming some Advance Wars games as well. Maybe one or two other random things on there too, because, well, there's so much to choose from back then as well. So that could possibly be coming in the future. And of course, I haven't decided if I'm going to do it yet, I'm potentially going to be doing my live streams of Dank Souls 3. It's not 100% confirmed that I'm going to be doing them just yet, but I have about 2 weeks off coming up in a couple of days from now. Actually, I start on Thursday for my days off, and I may take that time to do some serious, significant, long streams each day with my Dank Souls 3. For those of you out there who don't know, but have some reason made it this far in the video, I've never played a Souls game. I can't say I've never played a From Software game, because I played Armored Core, I've played Tenchu, I've played Kingsfield, but I've never played any of the Souls games. Demon Souls, Dank Souls 1, 2, 3, what's the other one? Bloodborne, Sekiro. I haven't played any of them. And I'm still convinced to this day that many people are just bad at games, because modern gaming is so easy and they drag you and handhold you so much, that I'm convinced that as a true quality gamer, I can play these games at a professional level, but I can play these games and I can do significantly better with no prior investment, no prior involvement, no prior research, no prior experience, no prior anything. And I predict I can do significantly better than the majority of players out there. Majority of streamers, whoever it is, YouTubers, whatever. I can do better than most of them is my prediction on that too. But anyway, we'll see how that goes. Whenever the Dank Souls 3 stuff does start, I'm going to make a video announcing it in advance, because I know people get super hard for blind playthroughs of games in general, and especially when it comes to Dank Souls games. People are super hard for that one. So that is obviously going to be highly advertised and highly high profile in relation to that. Anyway, that's it. That's it for the end of episode 3 of our beloved little Quack experimental podcast. I want to thank everyone for joining, everyone for watching, for lasting this entire way. I do talk very fast. I do talk very much. But here we are over an hour later and we're finally done. As always, let me know anything in the comments section below. If you have a topic you want to recommend to me that I may or may not be interested in, leave it in the comment section below or on any of these podcast episodes. Maybe even slide into my DMs. They are open on Twitter. You'll find the link in the description below. At the same time, let me know how I did on it. Hit the appropriate button for the up, the thumbs up, the thumbs down, maybe the subscribe button, even ring the little notification bell, all that good stuff. And of course, remember, winners don't play switch ports.